Wilfred, no deal. That meeting between Democratic leadership and the White House broke up just a little bit ago without reaching a compromise. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Minority Leader Senator Chuck Schumer just spoke to reporters and framed this as the White House walking away from what they said was a fair offer to meet in the middle.
It was a disappointing meeting. We reiterated in very strong terms our offer. We come down $1 trillion from our top number, which is 3.4. They go up $1 trillion from their top number, which was 1. And that way we could begin to meet in the middle. Unfortunately, they rejected it.
And Democrats saying that they cannot even pass in the House any deal that is lower than $2 trillion. The ball is now in the president's court, guys. Back over to you.
Elon, thank you. And with that said, we are, it looks like, getting some comments from Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin talking to reporters. Let's listen.
Proposals, but we have asked them for a specific compromise on state and local and a specific compromise on unemployment. We have not received proposals on that. Let me just say, as I said before, I think there's other areas we have made a lot of progress on. We know we need broadband for kids to be able to access who can't get in. I think we can reach an agreement on that. The Speaker just mentioned food. We want to make sure that kids have food. We're not going to agree to long-term policy changes, but the things that they wanted for through next year, through January, we've agreed to. So I think there's a lot of areas of compromise. I think if we can reach an agreement on state and local and unemployment, we will reach an overall deal. And if we can't, we can't.
Yeah, I think it's interesting just to hear the comments from Senator Schumer and Speaker Pelosi saying that they want a deal when behind closed doors their actions do not indicate the same thing. And as we look at this particular issue, the Secretary is right. We've offered $105 billion for children to attend school. The Democrats said that's not enough. They had $915 billion for state and local. That's where they were 2 weeks ago. Today, they're at $915 billion. Now, if you're talking about compromise, even with their $1 trillion Washington, D.C. magical way of saying they're going to come down $1 trillion, they can't come up with any significant cuts in their bill. What they want is a $2.5 trillion blank check. And I can just tell you the president has encouraged us not only to negotiate and, as the secretary indicated, to come back and negotiate in good faith. But at this point, I'm extremely disappointed that we came up here today just to hear the same thing repeated over and over again, which is the same thing that we've heard repeated for the last 2 weeks.
The chief and I will recommend to the president.
As you know, we have been mightily trying to find common ground with our colleagues. It's hard when your values are so different in terms of bubble up from the working class families instead of trickle down from above. Yesterday, I offered to them, we'll take down $1 trillion if you add $1 trillion in. They said absolutely not. If we could do that, if we take down $1 trillion and they add $1 trillion, we'll be within range. We'll be within range, but we must meet the needs of the American people. We could come down some because we can change the dates of expiration, the rest of that, but not undermine our priorities to meet the needs of the American people. And it is, we're in a big different place. Again, we believe in science and governance in terms of addressing the virus that we need to do, and that's how we're going to open our economy. In terms of livelihoods, we're honoring our heroes. It doesn't do anything for our economy to have more people on unemployment, especially when they are our heroes.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.
all that we've seen play out over the last few months has been tied directly to what we've seen play out on the health front. Of course, we've been watching cases here in the U.S., and unfortunately, as the lag time generally happens here when we think about cases, they've been moving in the right direction shortly, but that lag between the case spike that we saw a couple weeks ago now playing out in the death count as U.S. deaths from the coronavirus pandemic exceeded 160,000 today, nearly a quarter of the world's total, according to a tally from Reuters. And of course, this is ongoing as we've been keeping a close watch on some of those worrying states that kind of triggered this in Florida, California, Arizona, and Texas. Things in Arizona, though, seem to be improving. The rolling 7-day average there for newly reported cases was just above 1,800 on Thursday. That was the lowest we've seen since June 18th, according to the AP. So joining us now for more on that is one of our favorite doctors to discuss all this, Dr. Murtaza Akhter, clinical assistant professor in emergency medicine at the University of Arizona College of Medicine, Phoenix, joins us now. And Dr. Akhter, I mean, when we're talking about this, it seems like things are improving in Arizona just based off that. You also have the same metric here for average daily deaths moving in the right direction as well. We're seeing that count.
Based upon our lack of activity today to move forward with some executive orders. Again, we agree with the Speaker. This is not the first choice, but people have run out of the enhanced unemployment, so that is something we will recommend an executive order on. And it relates to rental foreclosures. We will recommend a executive order on that, and also student loans. So it's going to take a little bit of time for us to finalize these and process them, but we'll do them as quickly as we can because the president wants action. He realizes, again, despite what was a big pickup in jobs, there's still too many people that are impacted by this.
Is there any way you could go? They said come back to if you are willing to talk about a $2 trillion, roughly $2 trillion.
They didn't say that. I watched it. They said come back with a different offer. They're not at $2 trillion. And
she's talking about it, you guys coming up $1 trillion.
Well, let me just say,
there are. Back if you're willing to do that. Do you think that you would be willing at any point to compromise?
Again, what I would say is there's both a top-line issue, but there are also policy issues. I think, again, let me just emphasize, I think there are areas where there is broad bipartisan agreement. It doesn't mean that we've finished all those areas, but whether it's the PPP, whether it's other areas, again, on the school issue, we have a broad understanding of what we want to accomplish. We're still going back and forth on some numbers, and we're going to be fact-based. As I said, we're reaching out to states to make sure we have good numbers. But at this point, we're going to recommend to the president that over the weekend we move forward with